Hello. We'll talk a little bit, just a little bit. It's just an introduction to an interesting real mid journey architecture. You all know probably what mid journey stands for. I just have here a collection of images that I found on Google Images about this strange new way of creating architectural images, created not by man but by a machine invested with what is called artificial intelligence. Look at this. Uh, it's possible. It can be built. It can be built, and in a way, I like the fact that there are irregularities. You know, it's not symmetrical, and it has variations. Actually, it's more sensitive, I would say, than what a human being usually does, and less predictable, even if it's not terribly, novel. It's not terribly new. It's not this particular image is not incredibly. I mean, it's not shocking, but it's a pleasant architecture, which I think is pleasant particularly because of the fact that it has irregularities and deviations from the system. It's like a betrayed system, but it is coherent at the same time. Then this one, sorry, these are a little. The resolution is a little bit problematic. Would we like this kind of building? I don't know. I mean, if we like Frank Gehry's, dancing towers in Prague, why wouldn't like this one? Why wouldn't we like this one? Uh, the the skin, the walls, the facade is uh, is as it is, kind of baroque, but the windows are not. Windows are, rather conventional. Maybe that's because of the prompting of the machine, that the machine was not inventive in the field of Windows because it didn't receive the appropriate prompting. Here, it's it's kind of a baroque modern architecture, which is quite possible. I mean, this kind of building, I mean, some parts like that flow of stairs was already to an extent built by Paul Rudolph. Maybe there are some references here a little bit, but then to other architects as well. It is an architecture that can be built, that can be very, very close to what we look at here. And it's not an uninteresting architecture or courtyard. It's possible, and it has movement. It has, so I think there is potential in this mid journey adventure. This one, what can we say? I mean, this is mimicking in a way, an architecture a la Zaha Hadid. This one, the same. I'm not very moved by this. This one is more extravagant because of the colors, but it is a possibility. It's. I mean, I don't know. It depends on each one's taste, but it is a possible building. It can be built just like this. I mean, an architect can do an architectural project that is feasible, starting from this elevation created by AI. This one, you see, we see the, we see. This is interesting that these images are provoked by a text, but there is also possible to go the other way around. You start with an image, and then from the image you create the text. And here I would say, I don't know the word in English. you know, this, it's wool, no? Wool that it comes, you can even purchase it in this way. So it was probably, the machine was instructed, you know, to create a building inspired by these, uh, I don't know how to call them in English, unfortunately, with wool. But anyone who bought wool, you know, knows that in fact it's explicit here. So it is possible, yeah, it is possible to have such a building, no doubt. What about this one? Well, this one is a little bit more, you know, fancy and more, you know, agitated at the same time. But even this one is possible. And I see here, I just presented the work of Paolo Portoghesi, and I kind of see his balconies here, but in a very different building than the one he actually built. So actually, I think artificial intelligence is capable of creating a hybrid architecture, which potentially could be could be good, and I mean, you know, at least interesting, because if this building was built, I think you know, it will be the talk of the town, if not the talk of the world, wouldn't it? And it's very possible to build it really just as it is. No, I do think it is, there is some potential in this mid journey. Or look at this. What about this one? Well, what I see here is, as I mentioned earlier, the ornament is coming back, but also is coming back weaving an embroideries. This is an embroidered building to an extent. It is an woven facade. Okay, maybe the machine was prompted with Gaudi, but the machine created something which is not Gaudi. I mean, it might be a little bit Gaudi-like, but it's still original. And this I find very interesting. I mean, you know, the machine created almost ad hoc. I don't know how quickly it works, but I imagine it generates, you know, very quickly these images, which, you know, are almost, you know, I mean, very fine renderings. Even though I read that the visual representations in AI created architecture are not actually rendering. Someone even said they are the opposite of renderings. But these are, you know, for experts to debate. But I wouldn't mind seeing a building, you know, this is my subjective, you know, statement. I wouldn't mind seeing such a building being built, just as it is. Well, but at this point, there is no such building built in the world. That's the truth. There are some, you know, similarities here and there, some resemblances, you know, but it's still an original architectonic statement made by AI. And, you know, to be honest, it's more interesting visually than most of our modern shoe boxes, because this is what we are good at, you know, building shoe boxes, to refer to the same word used by Carlos Scarpa when he talked about his Brion cemetery as being a reaction to the shoe boxes. Well, these are, you know, this again, this is a type of architecture which is very feasible. In fact, there are already buildings very similar to this. So this is not so original, this particular, I mean, it is, but it's not, you know, it's not very novel, no. Nor is this one. Here you see the influence of Stefano Boeri in Milan, if it's not exactly his building, because it's very similar. this one is hard to see, but you see here, you imagine that the prompts had to do with towers and, you know, vegetation and balconies, and I don't know. Another one the same way, not very impressive for my taste. But now I arrive at the most radical. With this, I end this incipient journey into mid journey, because this I find the most intriguing, because they are, first of all, there are two interesting things here. Is the ornament, which is having an abundant coming back, and second, symmetry. But it's a slightly betrayed symmetry. You see, for example, here, this is a condition which is a little bit different from here, thanks to sculpture and so on. So it is a symmetrical facade, but not perfectly symmetrical. And I do think it has a richness which is inviolable, because you know, our buildings today certainly do not afford do not afford this reassertion of sculpture in architecture. This one, I don't know. I mean, it's possible, of course. And again, I think it's important to stress the return of the ornament. That here the exoskeleton of the building, I mean, this portion of the building on these 3 floors, you know, the bottom of an existing building, uh, the exoskeleton is the structural part of the building, of this particular part of the building, and it's also ornamental. So structure and ornament work together to create what we look at here. Here we don't see historical references, but here we do. Unfortunately, this picture is, the resolution is too problematic. Here we see a fragment of the facade. I mean, even here it's a fragment of the facade. Here maybe you could say there are some influences coming from Islam, maybe, you know, but again, the ornament plays an important role, either explicitly or implicitly. Here is, you know, explicitly, because it's, you see the decoration, the ornament on the walls. AI. The truth of the matter is, let's be honest, many schools of architecture create less interesting works made by human beings. Of course, here we have only elevations. So uh, that's not yet architecture. It's just an image. But this could be the elevation or the image of an actual building. We saw this one very similar image earlier, if not the same one. Maybe it's the same one. Sorry for showing it twice. But you know, there are things here that an architect, a formally trained architect, usually wouldn't do. For example, you look at these windows. This window is much larger than this one here. This one is different from this one. This one again is different and a little bit larger. This one also has a peculiar shape. So what formally trained architect to do something like this? But here I see truly a potential for a refreshing new vision in architecture. Why should we have, you know, all windows the same? Why? And why shouldn't we allow for, you know, zigzagging facades or ambiguities or labyrinthical configurations? Why not? Mid-journey architecture, how an AI is creating new architecture. And I do believe a possible collaboration between the human and the machine could probably bring into being surprising architectures. Here are a few other images. The resolution is not sufficient. Here you see better skyscraper. a tower. I don't know what happened to the one on the left that is falling like this or appears to be falling, but the one in the middle is very feasible. Uh, Another AI created image, a pavilion, which is possible to build it just as if this image was taken from the built work. It's possible. Again, there are some probably in the prompts. There was Gaudi, and maybe even Islamic architecture. But the truth of the matter is, a formally trained architect with knowledge from the history of architecture would do something like this with great difficulties, while the machine does it instantly. And I do think there is the potential for marrying the two subsidiary styles, as Patrick Schumacher called them, postmodernism and deconstructivism, to bring them together through the artificial intelligence mediation. Here is another one. I mean, come on. Are our white facades better than this? Not necessarily, really. I mean, yes, but what is in a way fascinating for me that these pictures you see, I almost have, I don't know how to say, compassion almost, or no affection for the machine, as if it struggled, because things are not perfectly done. You look at the arches; they are not identical. They are not perfectly traced. There are as if they are executed or built in a country where the craft of construction is not very well, um, you know, it doesn't function very well. Like for example, in our country, but the charm of the facade derives, at least in part, from this. And you wonder, you look at those windows and those panels between the arches, and it seems to be, old wood affected by the elements, some graffitis maybe. So it is as if the passage of time somehow went through making this image, or through this image. Interesting in a way, and again, ornament. Why is it that ornament appears so frequently these days? Because it does. Even here there is an ornamental pattern here. But it seems the machine has more fun producing these images than the poor architects and students have when they exercise the beloved métier or art. Yeah, the machine has more fun, it seems. I don't know about this one, but it's another essay, architectural essay. Would it be a great thing to have such buildings? I'm not sure. But the truth of the matter is, looking backwards on the history of architecture and on the present of architecture, such buildings do not exist. So, with a simple click, the machine produced things that, thousands of years of architecture didn't produce. And it can produce, of course, countless such things. So I think there is some potential there. Pardon? Anyway, or look here, this is actually being built, it seems. Probably a vision of AI, a vision of artificial intelligence is being built. And we see here again and again, ornament. And it's quite a scale. I mean, it's big. But I know there is fear of the artificial intelligence, of the machine. But who invented this machine? These human beings, who were born in the crepuscular valley of man. They who know, they do not know. Between the two mountains, the mountain of the animals, they who do not know, they do not know, and the mountain of the gods, they who know, they know. These halfway human beings, and I like very much the name of this program, Mid Journey. So it's not yet a consumed journey. It's mid journey. It's just like the human beings in the crepuscular valley. They know they do not know. And exactly because they know they do not know, look at them. They climb these ladders, they experiment, they work hard, to bring into the world things that did not exist, that God didn't make. And I think we should have empathy and sympathy and affection for these human beings, halfway as they are, mid journey as they are. And this is another, you know, architecture, possible architecture produced by AI. But I will continue this series because it stimulates me, because the truth of the matter is, if we quest for the unknown, it seems the machine is able to help us. And this is quite moving. I think Piranesi would have loved it. I mean, look at this. It's an impressive, I don't know how to call it, representation, architectural representation, artwork, vision, space. But the truth of the matter is, if this was built, uh, it would be quite something. It's impressive. Talking about space and about an unusual structure and about monumentality and about maybe even the passage of time, light, the ephemerality of life. We are in the end just shadows on this earth in a way, like those silhouettes at the bottom. So again and again, this was done by a machine that received some prompts, and the machine didn't know anything about our inner turmoil and the inner prisons, the carcery that Piranesi envisioned. And the machine created this, which I think could come back to us like a beneficial boomerang, inspiring us. So we give the prompts, we instruct the machine with text, the machine produces an image which comes back to us again like some kind of a beneficial boomerang, which could inspire us in its turn to create who knows what, the unknown. I like this. I like these images too. Okay, you could say they are unacceptable. Our sense of aesthetics. Who knows our sense of aesthetics? I think there are already signs of a possible new Baroque age, neo Baroque. Paradoxically, exactly when we need to talk again about, um, scarcity of resources, sustainability, the climate crisis, and so on. There is drama here, potential drama expressed architecturally. And maybe that drama never left our soul, because if it did, Dr. Freud would not have been necessary. And he still is. So, anyway, I think I have these images larger too. Look at this. And yesterday was the birthday of Charles Garnier, the architect who created the opera in Paris. I mean, would Garnier, would he, I mean, in a way, it's amazing, what is happening. That on the spiral of time, we are discovering and rediscovering certain states of mind and certain psychological states with the help of a cold-blooded machine. Isn't it interesting that the machine somehow is provoking the architects to reinvent themselves? This is what the machine does, really. I mean, I look at this image and I do get inspired. And it is coming back, not just ornament, but textile, the fabric. Because these large curtains left and right, the source of inspiration is fabric, is textile, is a woven reality. And that is coming back to the very linguistic etymology of the word architect, which comes actually from text, which in the Indo-European, Proto-Indo-European language means to weave. This is another interesting thing. So in this image, we see ornament, we see weaving, we see the textile work, the fabric, and this is in a way now maybe I will be considered a sexist if I say the feminization of architecture somehow, beyond the masculinism of structure. Here we see a different sensibility coming into being. The suggestion comes from this, machine, which I mean, it is in a way miraculous, no? But one thing I think is for sure, the machine seems to be more sensitive than we are. You need quite a prodigious imagination to be able to conceive such a facade. I wonder what God feels or thinks about AI and about Mid-Journey. I know maybe it's just wishful thinking, but I like to think that God now, when He looks upon our essays, employing the services of Mid-Journey, smiles rather content and says, "Yes, my dear children, you are on your path towards something else in architecture. I wish you good luck. I like the fact that you are restless. You continuously invent new things, and you refuse to be stuck. And I think God loves such people who refuse to be stuck. Yes. Look at this elevation. It was never built before. It could be built just as it is. And somehow I feel the passage of time here, maybe because of the way it is rendered or illustrated or represented. I don't know. Even the way the human silhouettes are dressed, uh, you know, uh, dressed somehow in a different way than we are dressed. Certainly, there are no, people in gray suits and burgundy ties and white shirts. Now, in my opinion, an interesting architecture. I mean, if we can build something like this on Earth, okay, maybe some people would say they are not beautiful, but no one would say that they are not interesting. And they do have a connection with the past. And something else, I don't know if it's still natural or desirable to dream about going to Mars, because there are so many things still to be discovered on this earth, and so much beauty to still be to attempt to move towards. So I still think the earth has potential. I know, I know there are the wars that try to convince us otherwise, but hopefully we can stop those wars as well, and we can reinvent ourselves in many ways, because I think the human potential is still high. And the fears that the machine will take over, I don't know. We created the machines. I know there is an old mythology that, the fear that the creation of man will kill the creator, just as we killed God, actually. But did we really kill God? Look at this. Some people will say this is too busy. It's too, well, not really. I mean, such a heavy ornamentation was used in previous architectures. What is interesting here is that you have this kind of strange mixture between two systems in a way, the highly elaborated one and the ornamental, and then portions which are almost arte povera, very simple and somehow domestic. Here you have an entrance like into a palace, no? But these windows are not necessarily those of a luxurious or complicated, complex palace at all, nor these windows really. Plus, I like again the asymmetry. One is smaller than the other, so there is somehow a discourse, an architectural discourse of some complexity here, I would say. Again, if this house was built just as it is, right, just as this image shows, I don't think it would have been the least interesting elevation of a building or the least interesting house ever built on this earth. No. And this is an interesting. I end now. This is a website um, uh, where I took these images from. Dreamlike AI rendering celebrate the intricacy of Renaissance architecture. I'm not so sure those images have a lot to do with Renaissance, but someone thought so. That was not me. Anyway, but they are kind of dreamlike, and I don't think they are discouragements. I'm not even sure if there is such a word, a discouragement. Maybe there is. There should be discouragements towards architecture. Quite the opposite. I think there are encouragements towards architecture. Thank you.